The slap sound like a thunder all over he compound as he slapped his wife for serving him food late at night, right as a knuckle rapped on the door. The steaming ifo riro slid off the plate and splashed across the terrazzo floor. Hello family, welcome back. Before we begin, I have a heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that would otherwise be forgotten and stories that deserve to be heard. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from, because together, we are not just telling stories, we are keeping hope alive. Chioma staggered, hand to her cheek, as the front door swung inward. In the doorway stood Colonel's elder brother, Captain Teo Adebayo, Nigerian army fatigues dusted from the highway, eyes turning from shock to steel. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. Colonel, Teo said, voice low, controlled, the way soldiers talk before lightning strikes. What did you just do? It's my house, Colonel snapped, nostrils flaring. She kept me waiting. Midnight food, cold swallow. He stopped when Teo stepped closer. Chioma tasted salt and iron, blinking fast. She'd spent the day at Balagan Market, buying fabric to sew and sell, rushing home to cook. She'd even warmed the stew again after midnight, humming to Davido on low volume so she wouldn't wake their 6-year-old daughter, Ife. When she opened the door with the plate, Colonel's phone was face up, Damalola's name glowing. The words that followed were knives. You know I only married for the investment. You're my real life, babe. The slap landed before she could breathe. Teo's gaze flicked from Chioma to the phone. Apologize. Colonel laughed. Brother soldier, go to your barracks. This is Lagos. Men control homes. Teo's jaw tightened. In my Lagos, men protect their families. A small voice from the hallway. Mummy. Ife, pajama top rumpled, clutched her stuffed rabbit. Chioma reached for her. Go back to bed, my love. She didn't want her daughter seeing her mother's face like this. Not tonight. Colonel pocketed the phone, grabbed his car keys. I'm going out. He shouldered past Teo, who stepped aside but not out of the way. For a hot second, two brothers measured a lifetime between them, the dutiful soldier and the restless businessman who'd started acting like Lagos traffic rules didn't apply to him. The door slammed. Car engine. Silence thick as palm oil. Are you safe? Teo asked. I will be. Chioma pulled herself tall. Tomorrow I'm done hiding. The cheating, the emotional manipulation, the domestic betrayal, it ends. Outside, a generator coughed to life down the street. Afrobeats thumped faintly from a neighbor's compound party. Teo walked into the kitchen, turned off the gas, then handed Chioma her phone. Document everything, he said. Tonight is evidence. Chioma opened the voice recorder and spoke into it. Steady. Date. Time assault. The name on Colonel's screen. Then she snapped photos of the fallen plate, the mark on her cheek, the cracked doorframe where his hand had hit first. Ife watched, eyes wide and watery. Mummy, is Daddy bad? Chioma swallowed. Daddy is lost. We will help him face consequences. Headlights flashed outside. Colonel's car idled at the gate. He hadn't left. Through the curtain slit, Chioma saw him whispering to someone in a rideshare, passing a bundle of papers. Teo moved beside her. Stay back, he said. A whistle. Footsteps. Then a second shadow at the gate. Tall. Female. Long hair. A flash of red dress. Damilola. The bell rang twice, then the gate clinked. Someone had a spare key. The lock turned. Teo's hand was already on the bolt. Behind me, he said. The door began to open. The door jammed against the security chain Teo had hooked. Colonel cursed outside. Damilola's voice oozed through, sugar with poison at the edges. Open, Jaiwo. I brought documents for him. He's done with poverty, love. Police are on their way, Teo said calm. This is a domestic disturbance. Colonel laughed from the corridor. Police. In the night. This is Yaba, not a movie. But the quiet in Teo's tone felt like a countdown. He dialed an officer he knew from a Keja cantonment, spoke in clipped Yoruba. Within minutes, the street dogs started barking. Neighbors peered through curtains, and the red-blue wash of a patrol van bled across the compound wall. Colonel melted back into shadow. The red dress disappeared. Tires squealed. The van stopped. Two officers took statements at the door. Teo noted time. names. Chioma showed her photos and the mark on her cheek. "I want this recorded," she said, voice steady. "For my safety and my child's." "Madam, you need a hospital report and a petition," one officer advised. "Tomorrow morning, go to the Family Support Unit at the Divisional HQ." When they left, night grew quiet again. Aoife finally slept in Chioma's lap on the sofa. Teo brewed tea and sat across from her, knees bouncing. "I'm staying here until sunrise," he said. "Then we act." Chioma nodded, mind sprinting through years. The wedding in Festac with Gelly piled high. Mama blessing crying happy tears. Cunnel's charm like Harmattan sunlight. Then the months of business trips, the slippery explanations, the new SUV that arrived without an invoice she ever saw. She told herself to focus on co-parenting, to keep peace. But peace shouldn't mean swallowing pain. At dawn, she covered her cheek with makeup, packed a small bag for Aoife, and left a note on the dining table. "We will be safe. Do not try to find us." She took pictures of the entire house, assets, appliances, the framed certificate of the business she had funded with her tailoring profits. She scanned bank statements on her phone. Strange transfers to a new company, ADL Consulting. Damilola's initials. By 8 a.m., they sat in a cramped office in Yaba, Family Support Unit, pale green walls, posters about domestic violence. A female officer listened, typed, printed. "You can request a restraining order. Also consider a lawyer," she said. "Do you have a safe place?" "My aunt in Suralir," Chioma said. "Good. Go there today. And keep your brother-in-law informed. His presence last night may be important." Outside, Lagos roared awake, Danfo buses honking, Accra frying on the roadside, gospel music at a stall mingling with Burna Boy. Chioma breathed in the city's grit and hope. She felt the first fragile lift of power returning. At her aunt's, phone buzzing nonstop, she ignored Cunnel's furious messages. "Come home now. Delete what you recorded. You'll regret this." Then a final one, cold as Harmattan. "I'll take Aoife from you." Teo texted from the gate. "I'm posting a guard for tonight. But there's something else. Meet me at noon. You need to see a video." Teo placed his phone on the table at a quiet cafe in Suralir. "This came to my unit's community tip line this morning," he said. He hit play. Cunnel grinned in a dim lounge, an expensive wristwatch flashing. A friend filmed while Damilola sat on his lap. "I'll do a soft launch at the gala," Cunnel said. "By then, Chioma will sign that temporary guardianship paper. She can keep sewing Ankara. I'll keep Aoife at my mother's. Image is everything. My clients hate public disgrace." Chioma's breath left her body. Domestic betrayal was one thing, strategic cruelty was another. Temporary guardianship? "I never agreed." "He'll try to trick you," Teo said. "He's printing papers that look like school permissions. Do not sign anything." Chioma's lawyer friend from church, Amaran Nwankwo, arrived, box braids, navy suit, eyes on fire. "I ran a quick company search," she said, sliding a printed page across the table. "ADL Consulting is Damilola's shell. Your husband's company paid ADL, then ADL paid for the SUV, the condo in Lekki Phase 1, and wait for it, an events retainer for tomorrow night at the Eco Hotel Gala. So he plans a public unveiling," Chioma whispered. "A Lagos gala, cameras flashing, Afrobeats, influencers, perfect stage for infidelity and marriage turned victory lap." "We won't give him that," Amara said. "We'll flip it. Do you still have the original seed capital receipt for his business?" Chioma nodded. "I sold my gold, a machine to give him 4 million Nigerian nairas." "Good. That makes you a founding investor. We'll file an injunction today. And we'll serve him at the gala." Later that evening, Chioma stood in her aunt's room, zipping a simple black dress. Her cheek had faded to a shadow. She kissed Aoife's forehead. "I will always fight for you," she whispered. At the Eco Hotel ballroom, chandeliers blazed. Men in Agbada laughed near the bar. Women in shimmering gowns floated past. Cunnel arrived in a tailored tux, Damilola in red, cameras trailing. "Influencer couple of the year," someone murmured. He lifted a glass to toast. Amara squeezed Chioma's hand. "Wait for the MC." The MC boomed. "Welcome Lagos. Celebrating love, business, and success." Cunnel stepped forward, arrogant, basking. He took the mic tonight. Mr. Adebayo. A court bailiff cut through the crowd, crisp and certain. You've been served. Cameras pivoted. Damalola blinked. Cunnel froze, smile cracking. The papers fluttered as he tried to swat them away. Then a phone screen lit the giant LED wall behind him. Someone had mirrored a video, Cunnel boasting about guardianship, the cheating spouse brag turned confession. The room gasped. Public disgrace landed like thunder. Cunnel looked for an exit. A woman near the stage, familiar profile, Gelly tilted like a crown, stepped into the light. Mama Blessing, Chioma's mother. She lifted a small envelope. Chioma, she called, voice steady. He left this at my door this morning. Inside was a DNA lab order slip with tomorrow's date and Aoife's name. The following morning tasted like rain and gunpowder. Chioma stood outside a private lab in Victoria Island, paperwork shaking in her hand. He was going to test my child behind my back, she said to Amara. To humiliate me. Or to set a trap, Amara replied. We'll do our own chain of custody today, with independent witnesses. 2 neutral observers from church signed the forms. Aoife, brave and curious, squeezed Chioma's fingers as the swab brushed her cheek. Teo waited outside, eyes scanning the street like a human CCTV. You'll get results in 5 days, the nurse said. Back in Surrelir, Amara spread documents on Auntie's dining table. The injunction freezes company accounts until we confirm your investor status, she said. Also, we filed for an emergency protective order. Cunnel can't come near you or Aoife. Chioma stared at the wall clock. Years of cooking, washing, praying. Years of soft compromise in an African marriage. He wanted me quiet, she said. Now he will hear me. Her phone buzzed. A bank alert. Attempted withdrawal. Nigerian Naira 3,000,000. Blocked by court order. She exhaled a laugh that trembled. He's moving money. Then he feels pressure, Amara said. Good. By evening, a message pinged from a private number. A video of Chioma, looped, arguing in their kitchen weeks ago. Caption: Unstable mother. A smear campaign. Domestic betrayal turned digital warfare. Teo forwarded it to a cybercrime contact. We'll trace the uploader, he said. Don't engage online. At school pickup the next day, Chioma felt eyes on her. 2 mothers whispered. A teacher walked her aside. Mrs. Adebayo, your husband requested Aoife's records be transferred to another school. Without my consent. Chioma said, blood roaring. There's a court order. Yes, ma'am, the teacher said gently. We won't release anything. On the way home, they stopped by a roadside suya stand. Smoke curled into the evening as Whisket played from a cracked speaker. Aoife nibbled meat and smiled again. The world steadied for a moment, then Chioma's phone rang. An unknown female voice whispered, he didn't plan the DNA to clear his name. He planned it to claim your daughter isn't yours. What? Chioma's knees weakened. Who is this? The line clicked dead. Amara's face went stone when Chioma told her. There's only one reason to float a rumor like that, she said. A hospital switch. Papers forged. Something monstrous. Teo looked at the window's reflection, jaw a hard line. Then we push first, he said. We go to the hospital where Aoife was born. Tonight. They drove toward Acacia under heavy clouds, Lagos lights smearing across wet asphalt. At the hospital records desk, the night clerk looked bored, until Teo slid his military ID across. Keys appeared. A dusty file came down. Amara snapped photos of everything. Signatures, stamps, times. A discharge page bore a smudged thumbprint and a nurse's name circled in blue ink, D. Lawal. Damalola Lawal. Damalola was a nurse, Chioma whispered. Lightning forked the sky. Rain pounded the roof. The clerk swallowed. She worked here in maternity 6 years ago. Morning traffic flowed like a wounded beast. In a small office near the hospital, a retired matron, Mama Anike, adjusted her glasses and studied the photocopies. Yes, she said softly. D. Lawal did night shifts then. There were complaints. Careless charting. Too friendly with a certain businessman. We didn't prove anything. Chioma stared at the ceiling fan's slow spin. Friendly with my husband? Allegedly, Mama Anike said. But there was one night, A storm knocked out lights. Backup generators hiccuped. Babies were moved. Moved where? Teo asked. Between wards, she said. We did our best. Amara's phone buzzed. The cybercrime unit traced the smear video, she said. Uploaded by a social media agency on the island, on retainer with ADL Consulting. Of course, Teo said. After Aoife's school run, Chioma found Cunnel waiting at the gate. Sunglasses, tight smile, a bouquet in hand for optics. You're overreacting, Chi, he said to the guard, loud enough for neighbors. Let me see my daughter. Chioma stepped onto the veranda with Teo and Amara flanking her. Respect the order, Amara said, holding up a copy. Phones lifted behind curtains. Lagos loved a live drama. Cunnel leaned closer, whispering so only Chioma could hear. You can't win. Sign this guardianship just for school. I'll restore your business page. No more public disgrace. As in, keep your cheating private, Chioma said. His smile disappeared. You think Teo will protect you forever? He leaves. I stay. You left the night you hit me, she said. A beat. Then a soft voice from the compound gate. Mr. Adebayo? A courier handed him an envelope. He ripped it open. Inside, a notice from the Corporate Affairs Commission confirming Chioma's investor claim and injunction. His jaw twitched. He snarled. You'll regret this, he said, turning to leave, then spun back. By the way, that child. Teo stepped forward. The soldier in him flashed. Don't finish that sentence. Cunnel laughed, but it was brittle. He retreated to his car, doors slamming. That evening, Amara called. We need a quiet DNA witness. The lab's integrity looks clean, but we must prepare for a hospital records battle. I also want to request CCTV from the maternity ward's hallway. From 6 years ago, Teo said. If they overwrote, we'll ask for maintenance logs, Amara replied. People lie. Paper trails don't. At midnight, Chioma knelt on the rug and prayed. A plain, desperate prayer. The generator hummed, Aoife murmured in sleep, and thunder grumbled again over Lagos like an old man unhappy with his children. The next afternoon, Amara burst into Auntie's compound, breathless. The hospital administrator called, she said. An anonymous donor paid for a special archive recovery of old CCTV. Guess who funded it? The same agency behind Cunnel's smear video. So they're trying to control which footage survives, Teo said. Or which footage glitches conveniently, Amara said. We need a court order to freeze the recovery process now. Before they could move, Chioma's phone rang with a number labeled Unknown Blessing. She let it go to voicemail, then listened. A hushed female voice. Your daughter's bracelet number was 314. Another baby's was 413. That night, new tags were printed in error. D. Lawal swap 2. Check the nurse station ledger. It's still there. The call ended. Chioma looked up, heartbeat a drum. If it's true, she whispered, then whose child is mine? The court granted a preservation order by mid-morning. A clerk stamped it with a heavy thud that sounded like justice beginning. Teo delivered copies to the hospital and the data recovery vendor. Amara filed a motion to appoint an independent auditor. We keep everything transparent, she said. No more shadow moves. News broke online within hours. Businessman served in public disgrace at Eco Gala. Investor wife freezes company accounts. The revenge story spread. Some comments blamed Chioma, calling her dramatic. Others praised her courage. African marriage drama is real, one wrote. Protect the women. Cunnel went live on Instagram, smiling tight. Misunderstandings happen, he said, claiming emotional manipulation by outsiders. He pivoted to Aoife, hinting at questions about paternity that any responsible father would explore. He thought the word paternity would scare Chioma into silence. Instead, it lit a fuse. Amara called a press conference at a small co-working space in Lekki. Chioma arrived in a modest Ankara dress, gelly neatly tied. Teo stood beside her in civilian clothes. We are not here for gossip, Amara said into microphones. We are here for facts. First, a court issued a protective order for Chioma and her daughter. Second, as a documented founding investor, she has moved to protect company assets from funneled payments to a mistress-owned shell. Third, Any DNA process must be lawful, consensual, and in the child's best interest. Finally, evidence suggests a hospital record's irregularity the night the child was born. We seek truth, not spectacle. Reporters fired questions. A woman from a radio station asked, "What do you say to women watching who face domestic betrayal or a cheating spouse?" Chioma held the mic, voice steady. "You are not helpless. Evidence is power. Silence protects the wrong person." That night, the hospital's independent auditor called Amara. "We found a ledger with handwritten tag numbers. There's a discrepancy exactly as the anonymous caller described." Teo exhaled. "So Aoife might not be—" "Stop," Chioma said, eyes fierce, tears held back. "She is mine. Blood or paper won't change that." The next day, the lab texted, "DNA results ready." Amara scheduled a private reveal with 2 witnesses. Reporters camped outside the co-working space anyway. Kunal arrived with Damalola, swaggering, cameras in tow. In a conference room, the envelope lay like a bomb on the table. Chioma's palms sweated. Teo stood behind her chair, hands on the backrest, anchoring her. Amara slit the seal, read silently, then looked up. "Chioma," she said softly. "According to this test, Aoife is not biologically related to Kunal." Air vanished. Chioma's ears roared. Kunal's smirk spread. "I knew it," he whispered for the cameras. "Unstable mother." Amara turned another page. "And listen carefully," she said, eyes spearing Kunal. "Based on comparative markers, Aoife is biologically related to you, Captain Teo Adebayo." The room froze. Teo blinked. "What?" "This can only happen through a hospital switch or identical twins," Amara said. "And we know you're not Aoife's father, Captain, but she shares Adebayo blood, which means—" Kunal's phone fell to the carpet. "The other child from that night likely carries Chioma's markers and may be in the Adebayo family network." Somewhere in Lagos, a storm gathered again. By afternoon, whispers became torrents. "Adebayo baby swap" trended. Screenshots flew. A woman DM'd Amara, "My daughter, Kemi, is 6. Born same hospital, same night. We've always joked she looks like our neighbor more than us. I'm scared." Amara arranged a discreet meeting at a child-friendly cafe in Acacia. Kemi arrived, big curious eyes, a dimple like Chioma's, a way of tilting her head that made Teo blink. Her mother, Ronk, clutched a small bag like a life raft. "My husband is in Port Harcourt for work," she said. "I haven't told him yet." Over smoothies, a nurse from the old shift slipped in, eyes red, head bowed beneath a scarf. "I left Nigeria for years," she whispered. "They said keep quiet or lose my license." That night, the printer jammed. Tags were handwritten. D. Lawal. I remember her perfume. Took 2 babies to retag. I saw her swap blankets. She said it didn't matter because we'd double-check in the morning. But someone signed off before the check. Chioma's lungs grew tight. "Can you testify?" The nurse nodded. "I should have done it then. I'm doing it now." Teo stared at the table, palms flat. "If Aoife shares our bloodline," he said carefully, "then somewhere a child in our family may share yours, Chioma." The cafe door opened. Kunal walked in. No cameras, just eyes like glass. "You're destroying my name," he said. "But listen carefully. The board met today. They voted me out as MD. Your injunction gave the bank cold feet. Congratulations, your revenge worked." Chioma kept her gaze level. "Actions have consequences." He leaned closer, voice low. "You think I care about titles? Money moves in shadows. Sign guardianship, and I'll make sure your hospital swap rumor dies." Amara stood. "Leave. Now." Kunal's smile flickered. He left a plain envelope on the table and walked out. Inside, a photo of a newborn crib card, number 413, and a second card, number 314. A smear of red ink joined them like a slash. On the back, in Damalola's hand, "Which life do you want?" That night, a new video dropped from Kunal's camp. Spliced clips of Chioma at the gala, slowed to make her look unhinged. Comments turned vicious. "Unfit mother," some wrote. Teo's contacts flagged bot activity. "He paid for this wave," they said. "It will pass." But it didn't pass. It swelled. Chioma's online shop saw orders cancelled. A vendor withdrew her stall space at Tejuosho Market, blaming security concerns. Bills stacked, and she felt the old suffocation creep up like damp on a wall. She stared at the ceiling. I won't break, she told herself. I will bend, plan, then strike. At dawn, Amara sent a message. Independent auditor finished. Shell payments flagged as fraud. We can petition the FCC. Also, the nurse signed an affidavit. Teo texted another. Family meeting. Tonight. My mother asked for you. When Chioma arrived at the Adebayo home in Bogota, thunderheads crouched over the city. Mama Adebayo, wrapper tied tight, eyes tired, took her hand. I begged Kunal to be a better husband, she said. I failed, but there is something you should know about our family. She led them to a trunk and lifted an old folder, adoption paperwork from decades ago. We have taken in children before, Mama said softly. It is our way, but we always told the truth. Kunal stepped into the doorway, rain silhouetting him. Except this time, he said. This time, the truth will bury us all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Should Chioma expose everything now, or wait and let Kunal hang himself with his own lies? Comment your strategy below. The living room smelled of camphor and history. Family photos lined the walls, boys in uniforms, girls in Sunday lace, ancestors staring down with that Yoruba portrait seriousness. Mama Adebayo sank into a chair. 6 years ago, Kunal came home very late, drunk with joy and fear, she said. He said your baby was healthy, Chioma. I asked to see the tag. He laughed it off. Later, I found a bracelet in his pocket. Number 413, not 314. Kunal's face hardened. I kept the wrong one by mistake. I meant to return it. Mistake. Teo said, voice flat. Kunal turned to Chioma. I thought you'd leave if you knew the truth. I thought I could protect the image until we fixed it. But then Damalola, he faltered. Damalola helped you hide a baby swap, Chioma said. And you call that protection? Rain slammed the windows. In the hall, a small figure peered, a little girl, same age as Ife, with Chioma's dimple. Mama Adebayo beckoned gently. This is Zainab, she said. Your cousin's child. She lives with us for school. Zainab tilted her head exactly like Chioma. The room swayed. Where are her parents? Chioma asked. Abuja, Mama said. But her mother was in the same ward 6 years ago. Teo inhaled sharply. Then Zainab might. Kunal cut in. No. Stop guessing. We need order. We'll do tests, quietly. We'll manage this. Manage. Chioma repeated. Like you manage your cheating? Your public disgrace. Amara's phone rang. She listened, eyes widening. The FCC just raided ADL Consulting, she said. They seized servers. The shell game is over. Kunal spun on his heel. You called FCC? You funded your mistress with company money, Amara said. Fraud is not romance. He lunged for the door. Teo blocked him. You're not leaving, he said. Not until we agree on next steps for the children. A horn blared outside. Cameras flashed through the rain. Neighbors had tipped off bloggers. Adebayo family meeting explodes. A reporter shouted, Mr. Adebayo, is your daughter swapped? The gate shook as curious hands tried to peer in. Kunal's eyes darted. He grabbed an umbrella, shoved past Teo, and stepped into the storm. I will not be tried in my mother's parlor, he snapped. On the street, a blogger got too close. Kunal shoved him hard. The umbrella cracked sideways. The blogger fell, phone skittering into a puddle. The cameras caught it all, an assault in high definition. Police sirens wailed. Charges came like rain. Assault, fraud inquiries, violation of a protective order. Kunal posted bail, face set, jaw wired with stubbornness. He still had friends and places, but their invitations dried up. Sponsors dropped statements. We condemn domestic violence and emotional manipulation. Meanwhile, Amara coordinated with the hospital, controlled DNA tests, court-appointed guardian ad litem, trauma-informed counselors. Ronk and little Kemi returned for swabs. Zainab's parents flew in, confusion etched deep. We never imagined, Zainab's mother whispered, fingers trembling on a handkerchief. Through it all, Ife clung to Chioma, sleeping on her chest, breathing like a metronome. Chioma learned to cook and cry quietly, to answer gentle questions with honesty. Yes, Daddy made mistakes. No, you are never a mistake. In court, the judge, headscarf neat, glasses low, listened to motions. We will not turn this into a circus, she said. The welfare of the children is paramount. Interim order, supervised visitation for Mr. Adebayo, twice weekly, at a family center. No relocation without court approval. Cunnell's lawyer objected. Overruled. Outside, microphones waited. Chioma avoided them. She walked to the car with Teo and Amara, the Lego sun burning clean after rain. We protect the girls, she said. Everything else can take a number. That evening, Amara received the first set of hospital audit results. Tag ledger confirms handwritten reversal, she said. Camera recovery shows a shadowed figure carrying 2 bassinets past the nurse station. The silhouette matches Damilola. Where is she? Teo asked. Her apartment is empty, Amara said. But a travel record shows a booking to Accra tomorrow. Not if we can help it, Teo replied, already dialing a contact at Murtala Muhammad. The next day at dawn, the airport smelled of coffee and jet fuel. Chioma stood at a distance in a hoodie, heart echoing her footsteps. Teo scanned the queue. Amara coordinated with an officer from Interpol's liaison. There, Damilola, sunglasses, cap carry-on. She moved like someone who thought she'd earned an exit. Ms. Lawal, the officer said, stepping in front. Come with us. She laughed, bright and brittle. For what? I'm a nurse. For questions about a baby swap, cyber harassment, and fraud, the officer said. She stiffened. I don't know anything. From the corner, a small voice lanced the air. Auntie Dammy? Zainab, there with her parents by court order, stared. Damilola blinked. For a heartbeat, something like conscience flickered. Tell the truth, Chioma said quietly from behind the officer. For the children. Damilola's jaw worked. She turned to the officer. I'll talk, but I want protection. Cunnell, watching from a column's shadow, pulled up his hoodie. He slipped toward an emergency exit. Airport security. Teo barked, sprinting. Officers converged. Cunnell darted left, then saw a line of soldiers ahead and stopped, chest heaving. Teo slowed, breath calm. Brother, he said. Enough. Courtrooms smell like paper and possibility. Weeks later, a packed gallery watched as Damilola, under oath, told the story. Power went out that night. Generators hiccuped. Tags smudged. A man in a fine shirt, Cunnell, whispered that it could be cleaned later. A swap became a secret became a life, and a life became leverage. The judge's pen scratched softly. The hospital admitted negligence. Compensation funds were set aside for counseling and educational trusts. The children's guardian ad litem recommended a careful plan. Ife would remain with Chioma, Kemi would remain with Ronk, Zainab would remain with her parents. Gradual, supervised familiarity visits would knit the children's truth without tearing their hearts. Cunnell stood when called, face gaunt. I was wrong, he said. About everything. He tried to look at Chioma, but she looked at the girls. Sentencing fell like a gavel from heaven. Suspended term for the assault paired with community service under strict monitoring, fines for contempt, and a fraud case left open pending FCC's charge sheet. A permanent restraining order protected Chioma, with a clear co-parenting schedule that put the child's welfare first. After court, on the courthouse steps, cameras waited again. This time, Chioma stepped to the microphones. Domestic betrayal thrives in darkness, she said. Infidelity in marriage is not just romance gone wrong. It's power, money, and image used as weapons. This co-parenting conflict could have destroyed our daughters. We chose the slow, hard path of truth. She took a breath, and Lagos held it with her. To women watching, USA, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, wherever you are, save evidence, ask for help, and don't be ashamed to start again. Resilience is not quiet suffering, it is strategic action. Family values mean protecting children from lies, not preserving an adult's ego. Later that week, Chioma reopened her shop in Tejuosho Market. Aunties came for Ankara skirts, brides for Asoebi fittings. She hired 2 apprentices, paid a fair wage, and set aside part of her profits for a small nonprofit Amara helped register. 314 to 413. a foundation for hospital swap victims and survivors of emotional manipulation. At the launch, drummers played softly, and the air smelled of puff-puff and hope. Teo visited often, always bringing books for Aoife and a quiet strength that filled rooms without noise. He kept his uniform crisp and his heart guarded. Lagos Gossip wanted a romance headline. They gave it silence and boundary instead. One evening, golden light poured through the shop windows. Aoife and Zainab sat side by side at a low table, drawing. They had learned a new word, sisters. Not a replacement, not a loss, an expansion. They colored a big sun over 3 small houses and 2 markets, and one big city that somehow, after all this, still felt like home. A phone buzzed. It was a bank alert, but this time, for an incoming transfer, FCC victim compensation dispersed. Chioma smiled, not at the money, but at the line that followed. Narration, justice. She stepped outside as dusk painted the sky and Danfo's rattled past, horns like stubborn prayers. Somewhere far away, a man sat with a community service vest and a bag of trash to pick. Somewhere closer, a mother tucked her daughter in and promised, "You are safe." "Lights on," Chioma said, flipping the switch. The sign above the door glowed. Chioma Studio, Tailoring and Courage. She locked eyes with the camera of life and spoke to the women who watched her story. You can walk through fire without smelling of smoke. Don't let anyone rewrite your name. Then she smiled, the kind of smile you earn. We're just getting started. The brick hit the sign like a gunshot. Glass rained over colorful Ankara stacked in the front display. Tailoring and Courage, flickering once, then dying. Aoife screamed. Zainab clutched her hand. Chioma dragged both girls behind the counter as the night shattered with the smell of dust and fear. A motorcycle roared off down Adinaran Ogunsanya, taillight vanishing into Lagos traffic. Teo was through the door in seconds, sweeping the aisles with a soldier's eyes. "Everyone down," he said, already on the phone. "Plate number." He jogged to the street, but the Okada had melted into the chaos. Neighbors poured out, market aunties and rappers, a pharmacist from next door, a pair of NYSC corpers who had wandered in to mend a torn bag. Phones filmed, whispers grew. Domestic betrayal had gone from courtrooms to shop fronts now, a revenge story scratching threats on glass. Amara arrived breathless, ducking under police tape. "This is escalation," she said, voice tight. Cheating spouse turned cornered man turned menace. "We document, we fortify, we push." An officer stepped into the light, notebook open. "Madam, do you have enemies?" Chioma looked at the shards around her feet. "Only people who hate truth." By morning, a glazier replaced the window. Church sisters swept every sliver. Auntie Saad set a steaming pot of OG on the counter as if porridge could glue a heart back together. The girls colored quietly in the back room, guarded by a plainclothes officer Teo trusted. On Instagram, #Chioma Studio trended, customers posting selfies in old dresses she'd made. "We stand with courage." Orders trickled back in, stubborn as Lagos hope. Then the courier arrived with a thick envelope stamped from the High Court. Amara slid it open, scanned, and her mouth pressed thin. "Kunnel filed a defamation suit and an emergency motion to modify visitation," she said. "He claims public disgrace. You caused us harming Aoife." Chioma laughed without humor. "He trended fraud through a mistress's shell and wants to lecture me on harm?" "We treat it like the tactic it is," Amara said. "We counter with police reports, the protective order, the FCC inquiry, the cyber harassment trace, show a pattern of emotional manipulation and intimidation." She tapped the broken sign. "And now physical intimidation." Teo's phone vibrated with an encrypted ping. He read, jaw setting. "Airport unit sent me a memo," he said. "Damalola wants to proffer full cooperation in exchange for protection. She asked to meet off record first. Says there's a bigger hand behind the baby swap nights." Amara's eyes narrowed. "We don't do off record, but we can listen with a recorder." They chose a bright cafe in Victoria Island where everybody's business felt public. Damalola came alone, no makeup, a scarf pulled low. She didn't sit, she sagged into the chair. "I was wrong," she began, eyes wet. "But I wasn't the architect." "Speak clearly," Amara said, phone face down but recording. Damalola folded and unfolded a napkin. "In maternity, we had a special patron, A man who paid for discretion when tags jammed, when mothers slept, when powerful people wanted a guarantee. They said, hospital errors happen in Nigeria. They made it sound like charity. She swallowed. He paid me to solve errors. At first it was switching one file, then it became lives. Name, Teo said. She hesitated, then exhaled. Chief Ikin Balagan. Construction magnate. He funded the hospital's new wing. He and Kunnel knew each other from club deals. Chief wanted a male heir placed in a certain home. Your night didn't fit that plan, but once we were juggling tags, it all blurred. Kunnel asked me to hide a mistake. Chief asked me to keep the system running. Chioma tasted bile. So Ife and Zainab and Kemi were lines on a ledger. Damalola slid a tiny flash drive across the table. Nurse station backups. Payment logs. My messages with the agency that ran the smear campaign. If I give you this, I want protection. Witness status. I'll testify. Amara didn't touch the drive yet. You will testify either way, she said. Protection depends on the whole truth. We don't have much time, Damalola said, glancing at the window. Chief's fixer knows I cracked. The brick at your shop? That's a warning. The next won't be glass. They left the cafe an hour later, drive on silent, Lagos humidity pressing against the windows. Teo's SUV turned off Ozumba Mbaju toward the mainland to avoid tail watchers. Chioma tucked the flash drive into her purse and stared at her own hands. She had wanted legal revenge and found a syndicate in the shadows, African marriage drama bleeding into a city's corruption map. At the studio, Auntie Sod greeted them with forced cheer, but her eyes were stormy. A man came asking questions, she whispered. He said he's looking for custom wedding suits and wanted to see the back rooms. His accent was island, Ikoyi. He kept his hands in his pockets. Teo scanned the street again. We rotate routes. We double the guard. And we don't keep evidence on site. He took the flash drive. I'll image it to 3 locations. Amara's phone vibrated with a court clerk's text. Judge scheduled the emergency hearing for Friday, she said. We can get ahead of Kunnel's tactic. Ask the court to consolidate matters, present the brick attack, and request sanctions for litigation harassment. She looked at Chioma. Every move must either shield the girls or draw the net tighter around the syndicate. No noise for noise's sake. Chioma nodded, spine straightening. We fight like tailors, she said. Every stitch holds. They didn't see the black Prado until it boxed them in 2 streets from the shop. A second SUV slid against their rear bumper, brakes squealed, horns exploded. Teo swore softly, hands tight on the wheel. 3 men spilled out, one with a scar like a comma under his eye, another wearing a cap pulled low, the third in a fine shirt that didn't belong to the heat. Hands visible. Teo said, voice level, eyes in the mirrors. Doors stay locked. The man in the fine shirt rapped the glass with a ring that looked expensive and ugly. He leaned down, smile soft as poison. Madam, courage, he said through the window. You are mending what should have stayed torn. Amara lifted her phone. We're on live video to the police channel, she lied, voice steady. His smile didn't move. Bring me my drive, he said, or your little shop will not survive another night. Teo cracked his window a finger's width. Name, he said. The man's eyes glittered. Deliver a message to your soldier pride, he replied. I am not on Instagram. Tell him Chief Balagan sends his regards. He tapped the window twice, almost courteous, then stepped back as both SUVs peeled away into traffic with the arrogance of people certain they own the road. Silence expanded in the car like a bruise. Chioma didn't flinch. She reached into her purse, pulled out the flash drive, and looked at Teo. 3 copies, she said. Now. By nightfall, the drive's contents sat on a lawyer's secure server, an EFCC evidence locker, and a journalist's dead drop account that would only trigger if Chioma didn't answer her phone by 9 a.m. A string on a kite, tied to the wind. Friday came with hard sun and harder stares. In court, Kunnel tried to sit taller than his skeleton allowed. His lawyer pleaded fatherhood. Amara pled facts. The judge listened, weighed, then spoke. Visitation remained supervised. Sanctions for harassment denied without prejudice, pending the outcome of criminal and regulatory proceedings. And Mr. Adebayo, you will cease any contact outside the order. 1 more brick, and I will remand you. Outside, a reporter called out. Madam Chioma, are you afraid? Chioma lifted her chin. I am focused. Her phone buzzed. A blocked number. She answered and heard a familiar voice, worn, almost kind. Taylor, the voice said. I admire your stitches, but some cloth tears back. A pause. Check your back room. The line went dead. They ran the last 2 blocks. The shop smelled of starch and lavender. The girl's coloring books lay open on the little table. The plainclothes officer stood with a hand to his earpiece, face pale. He pointed to the back door, where a fresh envelope waited, taped at eye height. Chioma tore it open with steady fingers. Inside lay a single baby bracelet, tiny plastic cracked with age, etched with one number, 314, and a note. Choose the story or the child. Choose the story or the child. The note lay on the cutting table like a curse. Chioma closed her eyes, exhaled slowly, and opened them with something sharper than fear. We choose both, she said. We save the girls, and we end this domestic betrayal. Amara nodded. Controlled exposure, she said. We won't hand them the narrative. We'll script it. Teo's plan unfolded like a drill. The flash drive's contents were mirrored to a third lawyer, a cloud vault, and a journalist known for clean hands. EFCC scheduled a sealed warrant sweep. A family court liaison arranged temporary relocation for Aoife and Zainab to a secure women's shelter run by church aunties. Ronk arrived with Kemi, hence shaking but steady in her eyes. We won't run from infidelity and marriage turned criminal, she said. We'll face it. The call came at dusk. A calm man, Prado voice, directed Chioma to an exchange at a car wash under the Third Mainland Bridge. Bring the drive, he said, or the bracelet becomes a map to your child. Amara muted the line. We'll bring a drive, she whispered, holding up a decoy stuffed with harmless files, but with a geo-pinger nested inside. And we'll bring a city. Night fell hot and humming. Genset smoke braided with salty lagoon air as Danfo's rattled past, and high-life music bled from a pepper soup joint. Teo parked 2 blocks away, his team dispersed into shadows. EFCC, fans idled quiet on a parallel street. A blogger waited in a kiki, camera capped until a signal. The women from the shelter texted. Girls are coloring Bible verses. Safe. Chioma stepped under a flickering bulb, Ankara head wrap tied low, hands empty. She felt the city settle on her shoulders and refused to bend. The scarred man emerged first, then the fine-shirt emissary. Behind them, a heavy-set figure in Agbada leaned on a cane. Chiefy Keen Balagan in flesh, the fixer of babies and reputations, smile wide like a billboard. Madam Courage, Chief said, voice velvet over gravel. Leave stories to journalists. Families need quiet. Families need truth, Chioma replied. Hospital swaps are not quiet. They are kidnapping by pen. He chuckled, chin up. You have spirit. Lagos will eat it. Chioma lifted the decoy drive. Proof lives everywhere now, she said. This is courtesy. He tilted his head toward the scarred man, who stepped forward. Bracelet first, Chioma said. Parents keep tokens. From a pocket, the man produced the tiny 314 ring. He dangled it, enjoying the tremor he expected. Chioma didn't tremble. She reached, took it, slid it into her palm, and breathed. It was plastic in memory and war. The drive, Chief said, palm open. Signal. Teo murmured from his sleeve mic EFCC, police, and the journalist received the go code. Somewhere above, a drone purred like a mosquito. Chioma placed the decoy in Chief's waiting hand, and the car wash lights snapped bright as noon. EFCC, a voice thundered. Vans fishtailed in, doors flying. Officers poured out. Teo and his team moved like a closing fist. The scarred man reached for a pocket. Teo had him on the ground in 2 heartbeats, zip ties whispering. Chief stumbled, cane clattering. The fine-shirt emissary tried a smile and got a pair of handcuffs instead. Mr. Balagan, the EFCC lead said, voice crisp. You are under arrest for conspiracy to defraud, child trafficking via hospital interference, cyber harassment and obstruction. Anything you say. Chief's cultural performance fell away. His eyes were old and mean. You think you can pin Lagos on me? He hissed. We don't need Lagos, Amara said, stepping forward, phone raised. We have payments, nurse logs, shell company invoices, the smear agency contract, and your club chats. Plus a witness, named Damilola Lawal, who is very ready to talk. Chief's shoulders slumped. For a moment, the third mainland felt quiet. Cuddle stepped from the shadows as if the night had birthed him. No cameras this time, no Instagram Live, only a man with a jaw ground flat by pride. He looked at Chief, then at Chioma. "I came to stop this," he said softly, almost to himself. "You came to watch," Teo said, "which is all you've ever done when courage costs something." Cuddle's mouth worked. He looked at the bracelet in Chioma's fist, wet with sweat and lagoon mist. "I'm sorry," he said, the words awkward as a foreign language. "For the slap. For Damilola. For everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I expect consequence." "That," Amara said, "we can arrange." The fallout moved fast. FCC pressers turned revenge story into criminal network exposed. The hospital released a public apology, fund for victims, and a new protocol named 314/413. 2 nurses double-signed every tag, generators audited weekly, rotation logs digitized with timestamps. The smear agency surrendered its contract. Bots went silent like a storm that remembered it wasn't the sky. In family court, the judge read the arrests, the audits, the witness statements. "Domestic betrayal bleeds into systems when men love image more than truth," she said, glasses low. "This court elevates children above brand." She signed orders that tasted like fresh water, permanent protective order, full legal custody to Chioma, structured, therapist-led contact between the 3 girls so their hearts could hold biology and belonging without breaking, supervised visitation for Cunnel contingent on anger management and community service, restitution to Chioma's studio for the brick, charged to the syndicate, with Cunnel jointly liable. Cunnel stood and didn't argue. "I'll sweep roads and scrub walls," he said to the judge. "Let me at least do clean work." A month later, under softer skies, 314 to 413 launched in a community hall in Suralere, LED banner modest room full. Nurses sat beside market women. Soldiers sat beside journalists. Aunties and Gelly clapped in rhythm as speaking voices shook and steadied. The keywords that had haunted Chioma's nights, domestic betrayal, cheating spouse, co-parenting conflict, emotional manipulation, public disgrace, became search terms for resources instead of wounds. They trained hospitals on chain of custody, taught mothers how to document, taught fathers how to show up without violence, and they posted a hotline above every maternity bed they could reach. At Chioma's studio, the repaired sign glowed brighter than before, tailoring in courage, letters straight as a spine. Business blossomed, bridesmaids in a cross shipped measurements, a Nairobi podcaster ordered stage jackets, a Johannesburg choir booked matching ibadas. The city that once watched for her collapse now wore her work to weddings and graduations, an answer sewn into every seam. One late afternoon, Aoife, Zainab, and Kemi sprawled on the studio floor among fabric scraps, drawing a house with 3 doors and 1 long corridor between them. "Sisters," Aoife wrote carefully at the top. She looked up at Chioma. "Mummy, is this our forever?" "It's our now," Chioma said, kneeling. "And we will make it good." Forever grows from good nows. Teo arrived with new books and a shy smile that said he understood boundaries and bridges. He would always be Uncle Teo, the man who stood in the doorway the night a slap became a line in the sand, the soldier who believed protection is not possession. A street vendor shouted suya. Down the block, a church choir practiced a chorus that felt like a city breathing. Joy comes in the morning. Chioma stepped to the doorway, breathed Lagos, pepper, petrol, puff puff possibility, and pressed the tiny bracelet into a glass frame beside the register. Not a threat anymore. A testimony. She turned to camera, the invisible lens that had followed this African marriage drama from Ifo Riro on the tiles to justice stamped on paper, and spoke to the women who stitched their courage in comments at 2 a.m. You are not weak because you loved. You are wise because you learned. Document. Ask for help. Choose the child and the story. Choose yourself. A customer rang the bell. The girls laughed. The sign hummed. And the night that once offered fear now offered fabric, and fabric offered future. Thank you for writing this journey with Africantales by Miracle. If this ending gave you strength, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping, healing stories. Share this finale with someone who needs proof that justice and resilience win. In the comments, tell us which moment changed everything for you and what lesson are you carrying forward?